What is going on, beautiful and lovely people? My name is Everett Delorme. That is Rob St. Clair. This isn't the 9x9, but instead we are here to go down and we're going to give report cards out. We're going to give grades out to all the women's teams in the 2024 VNL. So welcome to wherever you're watching, whether it's your house, the bath, the car. Big shout out to Peter, who's in the bath right now. Peter just said on the Discord, he's like, "Nice. I was looking for a podcast to listen to while in the bath," and I was like,
Well,
"Well,
all right, here we
Peter,
go.
we got it. We got it going."
Let
It
us
is what
know,
it is.
by the way, if you can see and hear us okay. We've got a little different setup going on because I'm in a random hotel room in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin. So
Ooh,
we're
middle
gonna.
of nowhere, Wisconsin.
That's
Wisconsin.
right.
I feel like Wisconsin's accent is almost like a Canadian
It's
accent in
pretty
some
close.
ways.
Wisconsin.
It's
Yeah, it's pretty close.
yeah. They just don't have the A's in it.
Not quite. But
Not quite.
yeah, you would like Wisconsin. Actually, right now, Everett, I'm not far at all from the site of Wapaka boat ride.
Oh,
I'm
love that.
I'm pretty darn close to where Wapaka will be played in just about 3 weeks, so it's getting me excited for it. But enough about
Ooh,
that.
only 3 weeks.
3
Wow.
weeks. Yeah, it's
It feels
crazy.
like this summer's going by so fast, but you're right. Let's get into this, Rob. This is we're gonna preface this by this was a weird year
Weird year.
in in the VNL. When you look at the standings, spots 1 through 9, real tight, real close. That was the competitive teams. 10 through 16, it was let's just send whatever. Right? Canada in ninth had 7 wins. Dominican Republic in 10th had 3. 4 teams with 3 wins, 3 teams with 2.
So
Real weird.
weird. So weird. And like
Random.
the way we always do these report cards videos is that the grades that we give out are always based on it's all about context, right? It's like all about the expectations of that team coming into the VNL and what they got out of the VNL. Like, did they accomplish whatever their goals were? Were they trying to qualify for the Olympics? Were they already qualified? Did they have no chance of qualifying? And then another thing this year is that relegation wasn't on the table. So there were some teams that completely threw in the towel and accomplished nothing. And then there are some teams that's just way more to play for. So it's going to be a weird one. It's going to be a weird one to grade, but we're going to do our best.
Yeah, I mean, we've done this for a few years now, and might as well get into it. Rob, do we just want to start at the top like we always do?
Yeah,
Um,
I've got it set up to go alphabetically, as I believe is tradition. So first and foremost, and I'm excited to start with this one because it's Brazil, and Brazil is a real unique team this year because they were already qualified for the Olympics, but then they went out and went a casual 12-0 in the preliminary round, which I don't think anybody has ever done in the history of the tournament. But then they
no,
failed to medal.
I gave them Rob. I gave them an A minus.
That is
Okay,
exactly what I gave Brazil.
I gave them the A because you went undefeated in the preliminary round, and then I gave them the minus because you didn't get the job done. You didn't even get a medal, but you, you lost in 2 respectable games, let's
Yeah,
say, like in the semis and in the bronze medal, right? If like I think you said it on the show the other day that Brazil hasn't played a bad match all VNL. And I'm sure they have. I'm sure that once they would like go back and look at things, they'd be like, oh, yo, this wasn't a great match or this wasn't a great match. But realistically, going 12-2, or sorry, 13-2 with the semifinal win as well, was still pretty fantastic. And I can't exactly say that they didn't show up in the semis of the bronze medal match.
yeah, I think that's a pretty good take. I have it the same way. I've A minus as well. Sorry, I'm doing some alignment of our report card background. But yeah, like kind of the way we've always been doing these is that in order to get something in the A range, you have to have a truly exceptional either tournament finish or like just sort of an unbelievable preliminary round. Like I remember last year, Turkey like basically dominated the whole tournament. I think they went like 10-2 and they won, obviously, but that only got them an A. It didn't get them the A plus because like A plus is basically like perfection, and I don't think anybody's going to get the A plus, at least not from me. But in the A range means you had a really, really damn good tournament. And I'm surprised that I agree with you that I'm willing to give something in the A range to a team that didn't medal. But Brazil, literally, in 15 matches, I don't think they played a bad match. They went 13-0, and then they lost 2 5-setters to 2 good teams. And also in terms of like getting something out of this VNL, I think they really figured themselves out. I think they have a heck of a lot more confidence now in who they are, who their identity is, and what their lineup pieces are than they did after last year. And I think that is a successful campaign for them, and I think that's important to keep in context too. So I love the A- choice. It's right where I've got it.
Also gives them something to play for, right? It's really hard, I think, to win that VNL and then go on to win the Olympics afterwards, right? I think it's better to be competitive and in the mix, and that's exactly why. But just to add to your point there, like they figured out so much. They finally got to be able to play with that roster of Gabi and Ana Cristina and Rosa Maria, but also you have the injection of Julia Bergman
Right.
into the lineup, and she did really good coming off the bench and supplying. So I think Brazil's in a really good spot, and like you said so perfectly, like they figured out a lot of things.
Yep, I agree. All right, we're on the same page so far. Next up, a team with literally nothing to play for at all, Bulgaria. Bulgaria went 2-10. At least they got 2 wins. Their last one, I think, was a five-setter over the Dominican Republic, and then I think didn't they beat Korea in five when we were there in Arlington?
Yeah, they did. They did beat Korea in five in the garbage bowl, as I like to
Yeah,
call
the
it.
garbage bowl.
Um,
I
yeah,
mean, come on. There was nothing on the line, and there was no relegation. They had no chance at the Olympics. I honestly don't know what Bulgaria's goals would have been, but I mean, technically they did finish dead last, but they didn't go winless. They even won 2 games. Like I'm thinking like C minus.
yeah, that's kind of where I'm sitting
It's
too.
like
It's really hard with these teams that just kind of threw a team out there, just threw a squad out there. It was just like, let's just see if this sticks. Now for Bulgaria, it's a little bit different because I do think that this is kind of the squad, right? Like I do think that this is hey, we're prepping for next quad already,
right,
right? Like we're
right.
we're just going young right off the bat. Like I can't really think of like right now, if I think of professional women's volleyball, is there a relevant Bulgarian player?
No, I think
No.
this Nikolova girl, the lefty, is like the closest thing.
Yeah, and she's like a U21, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
shows she's got a lot of good things going, but yeah, I think a D minus is good for Bulgaria. Like you've got a young team, new coach. Like they got a brand new coach that they're still figuring some things out with. And you didn't get or wait, you did get dead last, but you didn't get relegated because no one gets relegated. And yeah, C minus, I think it's apt, right? They knew they were bad going in, right?
Yep.
Nothing
Yes, they did.
changed.
Yes, they did. All right, we're 2 for 2 on being on the same page. I hope that doesn't keep up for too long. And next up, Everett is Canada, and I'm gonna leave the floor to you on this one because
Oh, I almost want to like I almost want I'm still fluttering with this.
yeah, man.
I'm still it's hard to like part of me is really proud of like what we did and the teams that we beat, like taking down the Dominican, taking down China, um, taking down Japan. Who else did we beat?
I mean,
Uh,
I don't know if you can count
yeah,
a Dominican is not a good win this particular VNL.
yeah, you're right, but it's just part of me wants
And
to be, but I think
you beat
I'm gonna
Japan,
go
you
with the
beat China, you beat Germany, like teams that are respectable. Yeah, you beat China, Germany, and Japan are like the only
my
truly great wins.
I'm gonna go with a B minus, and I think that might be a little
Ooh.
generous. I think
Ooh.
might be a little biased, and I'll fully admit that. Because at the end of the day, like you came so close, but you didn't get the job done, right? And but for me, and I'm gonna cheat a little, and I'm gonna take to the context of back to the 2021 VNL when they had just dipping their toes in for the first time. Like if you had told me back then that this is where we're gonna be, like I'd be stoked on that. But it was tough, right? In the two biggest games of the quad in Serbia and Netherlands, like we choked, right? It was there for ours on the taking, and we weren't able to do it. So yeah, I think we've made a lot of progress. The potential is obviously there. Like this team just rolls over, right? You might see a couple, like you might see a few retirements, but other than that, so yeah, I think I'm going to give them a minus, and I feel like that's probably a little generous.
Yeah, I mean the it's tough for Canada because if we're grading everything relative to expectations, the expectations for Canada have changed a lot in the last couple of years. Like they went 7-5. Like this is by far their best VNL finish ever. So, like that, in that perspective, it's nice. So you went 7-5, but like against good teams, like or against like other not other, but against Olympic medal caliber teams, you didn't play Turkey. You lost 3-1 to the US. You lost 3-1 to Brazil. You lost 3-0 to Italy, and it wasn't close at all. You beat Japan. You beat China. Those are good wins. And then, like you said, the two most important games, like Serbia's team and then the Netherlands, both like key for qualification, just didn't really show up all that well. So that sucks. Ooh, wait, Everett, you back?
Yeah, we're back, I think.
Okay, we're back. I think I lost my hotel Wi-Fi is not the greatest. We're gonna fight through it. I don't know though for Canada, man. This is a really hard grade. It's a really hard grade. I mean, I don't think it's fair to say that the expectation was to qualify for the Olympics, but it was certainly the goal. And in the two most important matches towards that goal, you just didn't quite show up well enough. So I think I have to go like C plus. I think I have to go like
Yeah,
C plus.
I was even thinking C. You
Mm.
know, part of me wants to be a cynic and give them a C. Um, but I think B minus is more apt, and it feels better on my heart.
Yeah, so much to feel good about if you take the whole like quad into perspective. But just this
100%.
tournament, which is what this video is about. It's about just this tournament. Had it there for the taking in a couple moments and didn't quite get there.
Yep, exactly right.
All right. Next up is China. And China is weird because they didn't really throw everything at this tournament. So, and I mean, they didn't send any of their players to the VNL final. They got swept. That was obviously their plan, but they did go 9-3. They went 4-0 in week 4. They beat
Mhm.
Turkey at home in Hong Kong. They looked damn good in doing so at parts of the tournament, and then they locked in their Olympic spot. Which, by the way, they were not qualified going into the VNL. Like they had to have a good VN. They were likely to qualify no matter what, but they
Yeah.
had to have a good VNL, and they did. So 9-3, finishing fourth, and then like punting the VNL final. You can say whatever you want about that, but pretty good.
I really like China's VNL. I really did. I think they started a little slow, brap, brap. But I think they really brought it together, and they really started to figure some things out. Now we've got some people in the Discord who are kind of claiming that Kai Bin was pretty much told what to do with the roster in week 4. Um, who knows if that's true? But they definitely made some changes and figured it out. And I think that if you have a situation for China where you've got Zhu Ting coming off the bench, that's 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 like not a dark horse situation because it's still China and they're still lethal, but that's definitely a situation that, that's a lot of depth that most teams out don't have. Um, and China, unlike any other team in the world, leads is a top team that leads through the left side, right? It leads
Right.
through Li Yingying, leads through Yan Wan in the middle, down the middle. So they play a different style of game. So the fact that they have that ability to go to a legend like Zhu Ting on the bench is fantastic. But yeah, I think China's looking really, really good right now. I think they're looking dangerous, and I'm I'm toying with the idea. I'm gonna give them a solid B plus. Like
Okay.
a real solid B plus that could be expanding into the A minus stage. However, as you said before, to get in the A's, you need to have done something maybe somewhat exceptional. And going 4-0 in the last week doesn't really cut it for me, right? Um, had 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 they actually, I'll say it right now that if China brings their team, I think they beat Japan in the quarterfinals, right? And then
Very possibly.
that's a situation where I'm putting them into the A's. But yeah, I'm giving them a solid B plus. Like I'm giving them a 79.999
Hmm.
type of thing.
Yeah, this is a good tournament for China, but I mean, if we're taking like the entire VNL, which is what this video is about, I mean they punted the VNL final and achieved nothing once they got there. I mean that unfortunately, like there's no way I can put them in the A range or really anywhere close just because of that. But like 4-0 in week 3 was really good. Like
Yeah,
they reverse swept Turkey and then they
and beat Poland.
killed Poland
Yeah,
in that last game. And those are two real impressive wins. I'm gonna go with I think I'm going with solid B. Just solid B. I liked a lot of what I saw, but I wish that they had it would have been nice to see them go and try and win the tournament. I understand why they didn't. I mean, we talked about it on the show on Monday about like what does this VNL really mean in the grand scheme of things. But if this video right here is talking about their performance this VNL, I would have liked to see them uh, throw something at the final and try and do some damage. They did not do that. That's okay. It's up to them. But I'll give them a solid B.
fair enough. Once again, in the same realm.
Yeah. All right. Next up is a really weird one. It's the Dominican Republic, and I have no idea how to evaluate this tournament that they had. I mean, they went 3-9 in what 10th, but the fact that 10th and ninth were separated by 10 points and 4 wins, which is crazy. So this is like the bottom half of a very clear divide of teams that just did not care, either did not care about this tournament or just weren't good at all. And I would say the Dominican Republic was both. This
I
this version of them was both bad and apathetic.
I think well, they just brought in a bunch of different like they rotated their starters in and out. They brought in a bunch of younger players. It was very clear like we didn't see Bethania de la Cruz once. We didn't see Brenda Castillo once. Like n- nowhere to be found. So for me, I'm gonna give them I'll give them a C.
Really? Wow.
C minus maybe? What are you gonna give them?
I mean, it's your grade. Our report cards are different. I mean, you can give them a C.
Right now is the chat that's influencing me.
No,
That's the
don't get
problem.
influenced by the chat.
I
The
I
chat
I
are a
know
bunch of
I know
no,
that
no,
is the
no, no,
problem.
no.
I don't
Chat
wanna
is a bunch of posers. I'm not looking at them. I'm not looking at them.
chat is a bunch of posers. You're not wrong. Yeah. I'm just gonna give them a I'm gonna give them a C minus,
All right.
mostly because I want to give them a D plus, but they did potentially throw that game against us that got us back into the race. So we're going with that.
uh, I'm going with D, and I think D is generous. You are an
Okay.
Olympic team. You lost to Bulgaria. D. I don't care whatever you're prioritizing this VNL. I don't really care. Whatever you were trying to get out of it, this can't be considered a success. Like there's no way that whatever the Dominican Republic was trying to do with this tournament, there's just no way it can be considered a success. They went 3-9. They got 10 points. They lost to Bulgaria.
They lost a whole bunch of world ranking points too.
Yeah,
R- Yeah.
and it was almost as bad as Serbia's drop in the world ranking. And like you're going to the Olympics, like Serbia, I kind of get Serbia a little bit more because they're so dependent on one player that I do think it was a good move to give that one player rest. Like Dominican though, like you're going to the Olympics, and I mean they had a really good Olympic qualification tournament in the fall, but don't you think they would have wanted to play with their actual like Olympians together once in meaningful competition before Paris? That's what I'm confused about. So like I don't know what's going on in their federation. I don't know what their plan was. Whatever it was, it can't be considered a success, and they get a D.
Yeah, I don't know what their plan was either. So uh, I can't disagree with you, to be honest, on any of this.
Well, they're going to be one of the weird wild card teams going into the Olympics because I truly have no idea what to expect out of them. I mean, it could be the great team that we saw in the fall at Olympic qualifiers. It could be
Hmm
very different from that. I'm sure it'll be better than 3-9 at VNL, but how much better? Like, honestly, nobody knows.
Yeah.
Next on the list is France. France was in their first VNL. They went 2-10. As we've said to the Turkish men, like, welcome to the club, welcome to VNL. It's a very hard tournament, but France was in the really unique spot. Obviously, they're hosting the Olympics, and their goal was to just like kind of figure it out and see if they can learn a bit about themselves before Paris. Their best player is Helena Cazot, and she didn't play that much.
At all.
So, was it at all?
0. Oh, wait.
Well,
No, I take that. No, I take that back. She did play.
a little
But she
bit.
only played in 3 matches.
See, so like,
I'm
man,
I'm
I don't.
actually gonna for me, I actually watched a tiny bit of France, and I give them a solid C because they managed to win 2 games. They managed to, do that without one of their best players in a Cazot. It wasn't as much of a dumpster fire for them as it was for Turkey. And yeah, I'm gonna give them a C. Like they came in and kind of did exactly what we expected of them, and they didn't finish last. They finished 14th, right?
Yeah,
They wouldn't have been relegated, right?
true.
And
Yep.
they didn't even need the terribleness of Korea to do that because they managed to finish ahead of 2 teams.
Yeah, they beat Serbia's C team, and they beat, I don't know what one other win they got. I'm sure it wasn't a particularly impressive one, but you nailed it. The point that you made is, it's, if you compare it to expectations, our expectations for France were quite low.
Mhm.
We didn't expect any like earth-shattering performances from them as far as results as VNL. Their job was to try and dip their toe into the competition, figure it out, figure themselves out. I hope that they did that so that they're not like a complete walkover in Paris. Although I do hope that they are a walkover when they play the United States in pools. But I think C is pretty fair. I mean, they certainly didn't exceed expectations, but I don't think they failed to meet them. I think they met them.
Yeah. I think it was a perfectly adequate. Like I think France's team is finishing this field, and I'll be like, okay, we
Okay.
know what's up now,
Yeah.
right? We know what's up now when we're that much better for the Olympics, and we're not going to go and shit the bed at home in front of our fans in Paris. We're probably going to fight a little bit. Maybe we even pull off one win. Who knows like who knows what happens at the Olympics, right?
Who knows? All right. Next up is Germany, Everett, and Germany is an interesting case because they had a little tiny bit of a chance of qualifying for the Olympics, a little tiny chance. They would have had to go on an all-time great run in terms of world ranking points gain, but then they went 3-9. They went 3-9, man. They beat France in their first match, then they lost 6 in a row. Their only 3 wins were France, Bulgaria, and Thailand. And they had a hard schedule. Like they didn't get to play Korea. They beat all the truly bad teams, but they also didn't get to play Serbia's B or C team. But they lost to the Denver iteration they were in, and they weren't really very competitive against anybody sort of in their tier of the international scene, like how you and I kind of see them. And they have good pieces. Like Pia Kistner is a really good setter. They have very good middles. They have a couple solid left sides. We know that they were badly missing Hannah Ortman, who recovers from knee surgery, but like 3-9, 3-9 is bad.
It But to me, Rob, it does break it down when you say that like, they didn't play Korea, right? Like
Yeah, they had a
they
hard
to
schedule.
me, they beat everyone they should have and lost to everyone they should have. That's the way I break down this German team. And of all those other dumpster fire teams, and maybe it was the fact that we got to see them cook for like a set and a half against Turkey when we were in Arlington and just watch Kinderman go off for a little bit. Just because the way that Costner runs that offense, I actually really like this German team. But when you think of how like Vital Heinen leaves, right? There's been a lot of different changes. Heinen leaves, Orthman's injured. This team just wasn't the same, right? Kinderman as good as she's I think that's mostly due to the Collar's ability to open things up for her because she swings really low. Like, like, let's be honest, she played at Jacksonville State. It's not like she really lit up the NCAA when she was playing in the States. And in this era of women's volleyball being dominated by dominant right sides, she's far from being that.
No,
So I
she's a
think
rookie. I'm not
Germany.
worried about that.
So I think Germany did some decent things. So I'm actually going to give Germany a C plus.
Wow, slightly above expectation, dude. They went 3-9.
I,
Like,
I mean, above like expectations for me is like a B.
yeah, expectation for me is a C. C is average.
Okay,
That
that explains the difference in our academic history too. But
Oh, buddy, if only you knew.
I mean that's ironic because you have multiple degrees and I have zero.
Yes, I do. I'm this is it has to be in the D range for Germany. I mean, they're
D.
yes, oh, for sure. They're lumped
Hmm,
in. I mean, they are
no.
dead tied with Serbia. Both of them went 3-9 with 9 points. They're tied in record with Thailand. They're just barely above France, Korea, and Bulgaria. Like
They
they're
beat
below this distinct divide in the rankings, places 10 and down. Everyone who had 10 or less points, 3 or less wins. Germany was the only team that was actually trying that whole time that had a chance.
but once again, they beat all of those garbage teams. Right? Anytime they played a team underneath that divide, they won. Which you can't say for the other ones. That's where I base my on that. And I actually enjoyed watching them play.
I
So I'm
enjoyed
going
watching
with
them too when they were good. I mean,
they just don't have the
3-9.
horses right now.
No, they
They
don't.
don't
And so
have
right.
they get Hannah Orthman back and this team is right back in that mix.
Yeah, I
Right?
agree. I mean, they qualified for the VNL playoffs last year. So with Orthman there.
Exactly.
So like it's different when
And
you
like
have all your
and
players.
as Peter's saying, Costner wasn't even there for a week. So
I still can't give a team that should be good and has a lot to play for that goes 3-9. I can't give them anything in the C range. It's D plus.
I
It's D
think
plus.
they accomplished their goals for this year. Right? I think
I
that would
don't think
be
that.
you think that they're like, oh, without Hannah Orthman, we're gonna go with like, hey, brand new coach. Without our best player, we're gonna go qualify for the Olympics with like the biggest mark. Like, come on, no, be realistic.
I mean, the
They
qualifying
won't.
for the Olympics was never going to happen.
But
I
neither
mean,
was gonna beat any of the teams that were actually taking it seriously. I stand by it.
right.
Let's move on.
Next up is Italy, the champs. I mean, I'll just go ahead and say that this is an A. It's an A.
Yeah,
It's a
that's an
solid
A.
A. They went 10-2
It's
the preliminary round. They don't get the A plus. You would have to go like I think 11-1 or better and then win the tournament. But they were so dominant in that final, or in the entire finals tournament. They dropped one set. That like this is the closest I've ever been in the history of us doing these to giving an A plus. But I'm not doing it. It's an A. It's a solid A. Italy looked amazing. Like we said on Monday, they did this all in the first tournament with a new coach, and they are a clear gold medal contender going into Paris. A.
okay. I'm considering them giving them the A plus because of that dominance that we saw in the finals. Um, However, I think that dominance was maybe due to the fact that they had a dog tired Poland
Yeah,
team
they got a
in the
weak draw.
semifinals, and then they had a dog tired Japan team in the finals. Now I would probably call them to win both of those games. However, it was a little bit easier, so I'm gonna agree with you that and give them a solid A. Um, they got themselves back. They went from being not qualified, no medals at Euros, to being like this team could win an Olympic gold, no doubt
Yep.
about it.
Yep.
In
Absolutely.
one tournament, they went from being like, is Italy going to qualify to the Olympics to Italy could win the Olympics.
Yep. They are now the number one ranked team in the world, and
Yeah.
that is pretty well deserved. So, A, for sure. All right. Next up is the team that they beat in the final, Japan. Silver medal. Pretty damn good. 8-4 in the preliminary round. They needed to qualify for the Olympics, and they did. That was never really in doubt. But they were good. They played good matches. They beat good teams. Obviously, that win over Brazil in the semis was unbelievable, and they should feel very good about themselves. Hardware at Nations League is a good performance, no matter the context. But I mean, I was about to talk about the bigger picture, but that's not what this is about. This is about their VNL performance, and I think also have to give them an A. If we're just
I do.
talking,
I
if we're just
I
talking
agree
about
with that.
VNL performance only, I think it also has to be an A.
I also agree with that. Like I'm not like they got some big wins throughout this VNL, right? Like they pulled out some massive wins. That win against Brazil is a statement win for that Japanese team. Making
They
it to the finals
they
is
beat
is a
Turkey
statement.
for they beat Turkey. I remember that first match of the tournament in
Yep.
Antalya, which was electric. They beat China in the preliminary round when China had their players. They lost to Brazil in 5, they lost to Poland, they lost to Canada in 5, in that very notable one, and then they lost to the USA. Like, all of their losses were perfectly explainable, and then they had a couple very good wins, and then the semifinal win over Brazil was, like, the icing on the cake. I think this is an A.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some salty Italian fans in the chat, but once again, it's all about expectations,
Yep,
right? It's
yep.
it's not about whether you win or lose. Japan coming in, I wouldn't have thought that they were a threat for a medal, to be perfectly honest. Now they did get a little bit lucky by having the Chinese B team in the quarterfinals, right? We were robbed of a classic rivalry match,
Oh,
and
it
I
would've
think
been
that would have
awesome.
been awesome.
Yeah.
Imagine China versus Japan for real in Thailand.
Yeah, yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
spicy.
Yeah, it would've been sick.
That's spicy pad thai for sure. Um, so yeah, but ultimately, like I really enjoyed watching this Japanese team play. I'm still not convinced that they're real medal contenders. I think they're a dark horse in the same way that they were a dark horse in this VNL, but they bumped up a notch or two for me, and I think that they deserve an A for this tournament.
I agree, I agree. Alright, we're on the same page there. Alright, next up, a fan favorite, it's Korea. And honestly, we've clowned on Korea a lot for the last 2 years because they've been worthy of clowning. They went 0-24 the last 2 VNLs. This year they won 2 games, and it wasn't even just 1 game, they won 2 games. And, as much as we've made fun of Korea for being so bad, and the stupid reasons why they haven't gotten relegated the last 2 years, it would be very difficult to suck that much and keep rolling yourself out there, and I honestly am happy for them that they won 2 matches. Like, I'm sure it's been a very hard couple years for those players, and I'm happy for them that they won 2 games. And compared to expectations, winning 2 games for Korea, like, honestly, that's almost A worthy. They're still Korea, so I can't give them that, but it's like B. I think I'm giving Korea a B. Compared to expectations, they won 2 games. Their expectations were to go 0-12 again. I think I have to give Korea a B.
I have a hard time with that. I'm not gonna lie. I have a hard time with that. Mostly because they, they beat a bunch of other teams that didn't care either. Right?
Right,
They beat like a really bad Thai team
and
that has just crumbled. Like
they did beat
Thai was
France in 5, and they lost to
but
Bulgaria
Kazot
in
was
5.
Kazot even playing for that?
I probably not, I don't know.
So like yeah, there's that.
Helena Kazut did start that match.
Okay.
France
I'm
went
gonna
up
give them
2
a
to 1, and France went up 2 to 1, and then they benched her for some inexplicable reason.
I'm gonna give them a B.
I'm giving
I'm
them a
gonna give them a
B.
C plus. I'm gonna
Fine.
give them a C plus. And I don't think they deserve that at all.
I mean, they're bad. Korea is a
Because
bad team.
my overall thing with Korea is that Korea in essence is good, right? They just have this like
They're not
woke ass
though.
piece.
You
This they
have
wi-
to
they
you
in their
have to
because
change your mind about that.
they cooked all their good players off the national team, right? They are a good volleyball country or a decent volleyball country that has good infrastructure, but they just decided to punish people for things that they did in the 8th grade now. Like it is wild. Like if they had their athletes, they would be better. They would at least be somewhat competitive.
It's way too big picture of a look that, and especially like it's not who this Korean team is. This Korean team went 0-24 the last 2 years. Korea is not a good team. I don't care if they might be a good volleyball country if they have infrastructure. It doesn't matter. This is not a good team. They are bad,
I s-
and they won 2 matches, and that's above expectations. So I'm giving it to
exactly. That's why no, they still don't even deserve the C plus I gave them.
them.
Garbage.
All right. All right. Next
Can't
up is
believe
the
you're
Nether.
like giving me a hard time on C plus for Korea, and where my
I'm
C
not. I,
plus for
I'm
Germany was
you can give.
blasphemous.
Well, that is ridiculous to have given Korea and Germany the same grade. That's insane. That's insane. I will give you a
Yeah,
hard
there's
time
two.
for that.
Those are two vastly different teams. Vastly different
Yeah,
teams.
that performed very differently. They ended up almost equal in the standings, and they should have been polar opposites. I think giving them the same grade is crazy. But that's the beauty of this video. All right, the Netherlands. The Netherlands is next up. They qualified for the Olympics. They did not make the VNL finals, but that doesn't matter. They qualified for the Olympics. They went 7-5. They actually only missed out on the final by 1 point, but the Netherlands
And they
qualified for the
they would have
Olympics.
gone to the final if it wasn't for Thailand too.
That's true. Yeah, you're right
Right? They
about
they
that.
they got eighth, and if
Yes,
if
they did.
if it wasn't for but once again, I've seen some people be like, "Oh, Thailand shouldn't be there." No, that's always been the case. That will always be the case. Unless Philippine hosts, the hosts will always get a spot in the finals. This is
Correct.
volleyball. No one gives a unless you're in Canada. Apparently, no one gives a shit when the other teams are playing. Um, Rob, I'm gonna go out and just give them an A plus.
Wow.
Because they went out and accomplished exactly what they wanted to. Right? Their number they had one goal on the list. One goal on the list. There was one thing on the chalkboard. Qualify for the Olympics. Right? It's a binary question to me.
1 or 0.
1 or 0. I can't give them anything else because I know that if my team had been in their place, I would have given them the same thing. So I can't sit here and pretend that because they beat us and I'm salty about it and fuck them, that I'm gonna give them anything else.
I mean, you're not wrong about that. That was they had exactly 1 goal, and they did accomplish it.
Yeah. So
I'm
that's I'm just looking at that one thing. There's so many other things to are they like as we talked about, are they even better than Canada necessarily? No, I don't think so. But I'm gonna give them the A plus right
they
off the bat because they did what they wanted to.
they did they did what they wanted to do. Yeah, you're right about that. Uh, I'm taking it more about their performance through the VNL, even though they did accomplish their 1 goal in qualifying for the Olympics. They went 7-5, which is good, but like the only good team that they beat was Canada, and they weren't really very competitive at all against other teams that are in the Olympics. I mean, they beat the Dominican Republic and they beat Serbia's U21 team. And they got to beat up on Korea, Bulgaria. They didn't get Thailand, but they got yeah, they beat Germany, they beat France. Like they had a pretty easy schedule in going 7-5.
Oh,
Um,
aware. I'm well aware. There's no one who's more well aware than I am. You wanna break it down in the unfairness of Netherlands versus Canada qualifying for the Olympics? We can make that in its entire own video, Rob St.
yes,
Clair.
we could.
Uh, but
But I'm going more like B plus for the Netherlands. I don't think I can give them an A because they didn't play A level volleyball in the VNL, which is what I think that this is about. But they did. Your rationale is not wrong. They had exactly 1 goal and they accomplished it. I'm just
because
looking at it.
I'm
I'm
giving them
looking
an
at it
A
a little
plus
bit
because
differently.
my other option won't be liked nearly as much. So, for all of the
Also,
reasons you just brought up.
also, people are. I don't know if people understand what it is that we're doing here. These are our opinions, and they're just
Yeah,
based on our opinions. If you disagree, great, make your own video.
yeah.
Next up is Poland. Poland took bronze again, second year in a row. They looked great. They solidified themselves as, I think, an Olympic medal contender. They went 10-2. They had absolutely no chance in the semifinal against Italy, which we talked about on Monday how ridiculous that was. That Turkey win in the quarterfinals was sick, and then they beat a good Brazilian team in 5 for bronze. Like, very good tournament for Poland, but how good, Everett? How high are you giving the Polish women?
Oh boy. I think I'm gonna give them overall an A minus, mostly because like the job wasn't quite done. Now, I think that's 2 years in a row they've gotten a bronze. I would have liked to see them get one up. There are circumstances, without a doubt, there's circumstances. However, at the end of the day, the job didn't fully get done. They didn't level up the way that they had hoped to, given at how dominant they were during the preliminary round, up until the end there. So I'm going to give them a solid A minus because for me, they didn't quite prove that they could be like when their backs against the wall type of thing that they can pull out a performance that's really going to be like let's go. Um, so A minus for Poland.
Okay, I'm giving them an A.
Okay.
I am convinced by this Polish team. I am convinced, and I do believe. I mean, they against Olympic caliber competition in this tournament, they beat Italy 3-0, first match of the event. They killed the Netherlands. They killed Japan. They they beat the United States 3-1 in Texas. Then they lost in 4 to Brazil, and they lost 3-0 to China in the last match of the round, which I would argue wasn't the most meaningful. And actually, it ended up working really well for Poland and where they got drawn, where they got drawn for the Olympics. But and then the semifinal against Italy, this I can't possibly blame them for the circumstances. Those circumstances were bullshit. I do not like to curse on the channel. It was bullshit
That's my job.
what was done. That was ridiculous what was done to them with that scheduling. Completely unfair. I have to give Poland an A. I'm a believer. I'm convinced. Team's really good.
I'm a believer.
I'm a believer. You know who I'm not a believer in because I'm very confused by it? It's Serbia.
I
I
will
don't.
say I am a believer in Poland as well.
Okay,
I really like Polish volleyball on the women's side right now.
I like
It's
them too.
it's very nice. It's spicy meatball. But yeah, speaking of Serbia,
How the hell do we grade this team? I don't know what
I'm
to
giving
do
them a
here.
D minus for bringing their goddamn U21 team to week
Yeah, dude,
3.
that was
Punch
embarrassing.
it in.
That
Punch
was
it in.
embarrassing. Like, what are we doing? Like, I, their intent for this tournament couldn't have been more clear. But at least they like the first 2 weeks. At least Guidetti was like trying to figure out a couple more Olympic roster spots. So at least like that team was playing like they cared. But then what they did week 3 is just like on one hand it maybe is a middle finger to the FIVB about you know what VNL doesn't actually matter to us here, deal with it. But it rubs me the wrong way just as like a competitor and as like a group of athletes and a team that competes in major competition to do
Bro,
that.
this is classic Serbian though. This is classic Serbian. As in, we're just gonna show up and ball. We're just gonna show up and ball. And trust me, Toronto is a very Serbian place. Canada in general, they loved coming to us. Through all of their wars and stuff that there was going over there in the
We've got a lot of
Balkans.
Serbians in Chicago too.
But you know what? Like my Serbian friends, I remember playing club against them, and they'd be crushing pizzas. They'd be drinking pops. They'd be doing everything that our high-priced, white suburb nutritionist was telling us not to do on game days. And then they'd go in Drazen Luberic and just rip like spinners from the baseline. Like this is classic Serbia being like, hey, we're gonna chill. We're gonna, smoke a little hookah. We're gonna chill out. We're gonna go to the beach. We're gonna enjoy the summertime, and then we're gonna show up to Paris and take care of business. Like this, it doesn't surprise me at all that Boskovic and Busha and then the rest of them, like they don't want to be there, right? It makes no like it doesn't surprise me in the slightest
Well,
that
so
they don't want to play the
so
VNL.
that's fine with me. I don't care about that. But like what was Serbia trying to get out of this VNL?
They literally got everything they needed. They found out their extra roster spots. They got some play time for their second tier players who were fantastic. And then in the third week, they sent their U21 team to get prepared for a U21 World Championships. You can argue that they had a better plan than USA.
And here you are giving them a D minus. I mean, I have to
Yeah,
give them
because
some
screw them for sending their U21 team and just giving it to friggin'
Netherlands. Yeah, that
Netherlands like that.
that was painful. That was so painful, and I'm happy that their tank through this tournament didn't ruin the Olympics because they got drawn into France's pool. I'm angry at them too. I don't like what they did for the spirit of sports, and I'm also giving them a D. Just a D. If you're mad about it, Serbia, send your team and actually care.
I mean, our token Serbian in the chat, Dado Volleyball, agrees with me. So, like, we're Gucci here. Let's go.
Moving right along. Thailand.
Moving right along.
Thailand. 3-9.
D.
D. Just D. I mean, yeah, they got. I mean,
Actually, no, I'm going to give them a C minus because they got the same amount as wins. Actually, they got one more win than last year.
yeah, that's true.
So let's give them a C minus. C minus, yeah.
You know what? Fine. C minus.
Fine.
I'll go with you. I didn't watch a single Thailand game. I'm actually very proud to say that I didn't watch a Thailand game because I'm proud to say that that was a good, judicious use of my time to not watch that team.
Okay. I don't disagree with that. They used to be so much fun to watch.
They used to be fun. They really did.
In like
They used to be really fun.
2022, Thailand was a vibe.
Yeah, they were.
I think they made the playoffs, didn't they?
They might have.
Or very close.
They were good in the bubble too. In Rimini that year, they were fun, and they're not fun anymore, and they're not a threat, and they took a spot from a better team in the finals, and they got donged. C minus. Let's move along. Turkey. This is a very interesting one. Turkey was by far and away the number one team on planet Earth. If you asked anybody in the media, they already had one hand around the gold medal coming into this summer. And now the facts are that they are not that team that we thought that they were. They went 8-4, and they lost in the quarterfinal to a very good Polish team. It turns out that they don't have everything figured out, and that volleyball in Turkey is not perfect, and that volleyball is hard, and that this Olympic field is wide open. But VNL-wise, Everett, what do you think this Turkish team accomplished relative to expectations?
Relative to expectations, bro.
That's
Like
the
you want to talk about expectations?
That's the thing, dude. That's
Like,
the thing.
I'd give them like a C or a C minus. Like, not only did you get fifth, but you looked average doing it.
Yes, they did.
You lost. Like, you went 2-2 at home in front of your home fans with your team. You opened up the VNL in front of your home fans with a loss to Japan. I love this Turkish team, and I think they have the ability to win a gold medal. And maybe this VNL, like maybe it's a bit of a slap in the face to Santarelli and to Vargas and the rest of this team to be like, hey, we're not on the top of the world. Hey, we're not the hands down best, right? But yeah, like I want to give them a like what did they where did they finish? So what were they 8-4?
8-4, sixth, I think.
And like when half of like at least 6 of the teams in this tournament are garbage. Sorry, 7 of these teams are garbage and thrown in the towel. Like half of the games you're going to be play are just like literal gimmies.
It was a weird tournament for them. I mean, they lost that first one to Japan at home in 5.
Yeah.
They beat the Netherlands. They lost to Italy's B team, which made no sense.
None.
Then they won 7 in a row.
Yeah.
They went to the
But
US.
against who?
They beat Germany, Serbia's B team, Korea, and then the US.
Okay, so they had one good win in this tournament.
Only one good win, and
that's debatable since the US was terrible throughout this tournament too.
Relax. That US team in Arlington was very good. That was the best version of the US we saw in that tournament, and that match was awesome. And then they lost to China in 5. They got donged by Brazil in the last match that they clearly didn't care about. But like, I have to go in the D range for Turkey this tournament. I have to go in the D range relative to
Okay, good, because
expectation.
you're going to get the ire now
Fine,
of our Turkish fans
fine.
or our
I don't
Turkish
care.
haters.
I don't care. Relative to expectation, their expectation, I think, was what they did last year, and that was
100%.
to dominate and to try to win the tournament. Like if it was their intention to go like put all their resources and win the tournament, then their expectation should have been to win the tournament. Losing in the quarterfinal should not be acceptable, even though they got beat in 5 by a very good team in Poland. This should not be an acceptable performance for a team of Turkey's caliber, and I'm giving them a D.
Okay.
I'm giving them a
I'm gonna
D.
stick with my C minus, but I respect your D.
Okay.
I
Ooh, that's
respect your
one of the nicest things you've ever said to me.
D. It's a nice size, you know?
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, I mean, this again, this is relative to expectation. Yeah, somebody says in the chat, Rob, remove the comment section on your Instagram. Good luck, they will come for you. I don't care. They can come for me. I don't understand their language. Whatever. I'm not bothering with their comments. This team did not play well relative to expectation. And if their fan base disagrees with that, then they're wrong.
Like, what, you're happy with 5th?
Yeah, you're
You're
stoked?
happy to winning one, like, you were like, what, like 1 in 4 in relevant games this summer?
Yeah, you're happy about that? And like this is the thing about Turkish fans, like they're very black or white as far as their opinions on things. I bet that they would probably a lot of them would probably give their own team an F.
Yeah, 100%. As someone's saying that it was Vargas ball. Vargas led the entire tournament in scoring, and yet Turkey was real average.
I think
Real
she's
average.
kind of the only reason I didn't give them something lower than a D, because Melissa Vargas was so damn good, because that's who she is. She's one of the best players on the planet. The rest of the team was
They
not good enough.
they gotta figure out some things for sure.
Yes, they do.
For sure.
I thought that Turkey was different because they didn't rely exclusively on Melissa Vargas. And this tournament makes me think of them more like a Serbia that relies exclusively on Tijana Boskovic. And I thought that Turkey was better than that.
Me too. Abra Karakurt needs to be better
Yep.
for Turkey for sure.
I know Zaragunish didn't play much. Disclaimer. I know that. All right. Anything else, or can we move on to our last team?
Let's move on to our last team.
The United States. The United States. I mean, you had some slanderous things that you just said just now, that we were terrible. I don't agree.
Great. You weren't good.
We were fine. I also agree that we weren't great or good, but week 1 we didn't send a whole lot of the team, and then into the playoffs we got donged by Italy because we were missing 2 starters. So I don't care about that, and I don't really care about what happened week 1, but I am interested in what happened in the middle, because in Arlington we beat Canada, we obviously beat Bulgaria, we lost to Poland in 4, lost to Turkey in 5. Beat France, beat the Netherlands, lost to Italy's A team in 4, and then beat Japan. Pretty good. So like when we had our actual team, we lost 3 meaningful games to other, I would say, Olympic medal contenders in Poland, Turkey, and Italy. That's not bad. I wouldn't say it was a great tournament for the U.S. women. I think that we need to figure out a lot more things about role clarity, like we talked about on Monday or
when. That was now. This was supposed to be done now.
Yeah, they're gonna have to figure it out in the gym, because they clearly didn't figure enough out now.
This is exactly why I'm sitting here. You know, like I kind of like, I don't know if I can give the U.S. anything more than a C. I'm going more C minus.
Wow.
But like, Rob, you yourself said at the beginning of this that like Team USA needs to get back on the podium. Team USA needs to learn how to win. And they didn't do any of those things. None of those question marks for this team coming into this tournament have been answered. The only thing that I know for sure is that Jordan Larson isn't completely washed, when she led them in scoring with 124 points. Other than that, I know nothing. I don't know who the starters are going to be. I don't know how their system is played. I don't know how they really stack up against the best teams in the world. I know nothing. There's so many unanswered questions for this team. I was expecting this team to come in with a head force full into week 2, like you sent whatever in week 1 into week 2 and 3 and go full strong to be like this is the identity of Team USA. Teams should fear us in Paris. And now I think teams who are drawing USA in their pool are just kind of like, yeah, let's go. Kenya's probably licking their chops. Okay, that's a little much.
Let's relax over there. We're also not in Kenya's pool. So I said it on Monday, and I think the point that I didn't even think about it that much before I said it, but the more I think about it, I agree with it more and more. Since winning the Olympics in 2021, the United States women did not get better. At best, they stayed the same. And I wouldn't even say that they did that because 2022 and 3 were pretty bad. They were definite steps back. I do think we got a little bit better this summer compared to the last 2 years, but everybody else in the world got way better in the last 3 years. The United States women did not. At best, we are about the same level of a team 3 years older across the board.
Mhm.
That's not good. But if I'm going to grade this VNL in particular, it wasn't as bad as we're making it seem. I also am not thrilled about our prognosis going into the Olympics because I don't think that we got better enough, and I don't think that we learned enough about who we are. But in terms of our performance at this VNL, it's not as bad as we're making it seem. I'm going B minus. I'm going B minus, like just barely above expectation. Especially like we didn't send much week 1, and like the results in the 8 matches where we actually had the team were acceptable to me. So I'm going B minus.
The USA has not won a medal at a major tournament since the Olympics.
That's true.
On top of that, they didn't even manage to win Norseca last year.
I know. It's bad.
I would like to me like press the damn button. You know, like it's time to panic.
I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say it's time to panic. But B minus, and I certainly can't give anything more than that. What's your grade?
C minus.
C minus?
C minus. They're lucky it's not worse than that.
C minus.
Yeah. Only
All right,
middles were B minus. I agree with Lacrimosa.
Only the middles were B minus.
Yeah.
The one position that I'm really annoyed about is the opposite position. Like how did Jordan Thompson not come into this summer and completely take a stranglehold on that starting job that should rightly be hers? Unless she's still hurt. Everybody's hurt. God damn it. I don't know what the hell's going on in that team. I don't know. I'm annoyed because there are a lot of question marks and I don't like them, and I think that a lot of them should have been answered. But if we're talking about VNL performance, I don't think it was C minus level bad. I think it was slightly better than that.
We need to look into what's happening in the NCAA and the fact that no opposites are being developed.
It's a substitution thing, dude. It's the thing that you praise so much about that format, about how good of a product it is, that I've always said that I hated. That is the reason why we don't produce international opposites.
But they don't get subbed out, do they?
Yes, they do. Of course they do.
Oh.
They all get DS'd. There are almost I cannot think of a 6 rotation opposite in the NCAA recently, and if you could, they would be on the national team playing that position. None of them are allowed to play 6 rotations because they have enough substitutions and the rules allow them to be changed out every time they go to the backcourt.
Once again, I love those rules because I think it provides a better product, but I hate those rules because of what it allows it to do, right? But if those were the rules, if those were the rules in the FIVB volleyball world, pro and stuff like that, I think volleyball would be better for it. But that's for another discussion on another day.
Yes, it is. All right, those are our grades. We were lockstep about a couple of them. We were a little more than a little bit different about a couple of them as well, and that was what makes it fun. So that's it. That's women's VNL. The next women's volleyball we're going to be talking about is the Olympics, which is
Can you put them up side by side?
Oh,
Like we have that
they've been up side by side the whole time.
with all the picks?
Yeah, that's what it's been looking like the whole time. Everyone can see all of our grades for for all teams.
Oh, that's not what I'm seeing on the YouTube stream.
Yeah,
It's just been a two-up of you and me the entire time.
Well, no, everyone's been able to see all of us. At least I sure hope so.
I,
People
I'm
can people, can you
I'm
see our grades?
I've scrubbed through the entire thing and not once have our grades popped up.
What the hell? OBS, what are we doing?
Where can you guys see it? Because I can't see it on my stream.
Oh, I think yeah, my thing in YouTube Studio is being a little bit weird, but good. I'm glad that everyone can see it because yeah, I can see it. We've got all of our grades up that everyone should have been able to see the whole time. So yeah, sorry the technical a little bit weird this time because I'm in a weird
Weird.
hotel room and it changed everything about the way I usually set up the shows. But that's it. Thanks for watching. I just switched back to the view without the grades. We'll be back on. What's up?
No, it's just weird. Like on my YouTube view, I don't see any of that. It's just the shots of YouTube. Figure it out, bro.
YouTube, figure it out.
Figure it out, Zuckerberg. Oh wait, that's not
That's
Zuckerberg.
not Zuckerberg. Well, so we'll be back on Monday for the 9x9 after men's VNL finals. The men's Olympic pools are just drawn, but we're not going to talk about that now. We'll talk about it a little bit on Monday, and then we've got several weeks, or not several, but 4 or 5-ish weeks to prep for the Olympics and get into it. By the way, women's volleyball news-wise, the Olympic schedule is out for the women. So you can now look
Oh,
at
is it?
yes, it is. So you can now look at exactly when each Olympic women's volleyball match is going to be played, and then hopefully the men's schedule will complete that in the next couple of days. But the women's schedule is out now for Paris, so go give that a look. Other,
Okay.
other than that, we'll see y'all on Monday for the 9x9, and we love you very much. Thanks for watching. Anything else, Mr. Delorme?
No. Canada versus Japan tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. Let's go.
Peace.